Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Anyanati Mirandasya Jana Jana Shanaya Chakshurumilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Guru Brahma Guru Vishnu Guru Devo Maheshwara Guru Sakshat Parambrahma Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Sarvaram Jangamam Vyatam Vyatvisiksa Characharam Tatpadam Darshitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Bhavajaivya Priyat Sarvam Trilokyam Sacharacharam Tatpadam Darshitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Sarvashruti Shirorata Viranjita Padambujaha Vedantam Bhuja Suryoya Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Chaitanya Shashvata Shanto Vyomartito Niranjanaha Bindunada Kalatita Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Jnana Shakti Samaruda Tattvamala Vibhushitaha Bhukti Mukti Pradata Cha Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Aneka Janma Samprata Karma Bandha Vidahine Atmajnana Pradhanena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shoshanam Bhava Sindosha Jnapanam Sarasampadaha Guru Padodakam Samya Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Na Guru Radhikam Tattvam Na Guru Radhikam Tapaha Tattvajnanat Param Nasti Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Manata Shri Jagannatha Madguru Shri Jagadguru Mamatma Sarva Bhutatma Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Guru Radhiranadesha Guru Paramadevatam Guru Parataram Nasti Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Tvameva Mata Chapita Tvameva Tvameva Bandhusya Sakha Tvameva Tvameva Vidya Dravinam Tvameva Tvameva Sarvam Mama Deva Deva. Tvameva Mata Chapita Tvameva Tvameva Bandhusya Sakha Tvameva Tvameva Vidya Dravinam Tvameva Tvameva Sarvam Mama Deva Deva. Tvameva Sarvam Jai Gurudeva Paramahamsa Vishwananda. Jai Gurudeva Paramahamsa Vishwananda.
Jai Gurudeva
Vishwananda.
Om Sri Vishwananda. Om Hari Om Sri Vishwananda.
Sri Vishwananda. Hari Om Sri Vishwananda.
Om Sri Vishwananda. Om Hari Om Sri Vishwananda.
Om Namo Narayanaya. Om Namo Narayanaya. Om Namo Narayanaya. Om Namo Narayanaya.
Om Namo Narayanaya. Om Namo Narayanaya. Om Namo Narayanaya. Om Namo Narayanaya.
Hari Om Namo Narayanaya. Om Namo Narayanaya. Om Namo Narayanaya. Om Namo Narayanaya.
Om Namo Narayanaya. Om Namo Narayanaya. Om Namo Narayanaya. Om Namo Narayanaya.
Jai Gurudeva Paramahamsa Vishwananda. Jai Gurudeva Paramahamsa Vishwananda.
Jai Gurudeva Paramahamsa Vishwananda. Jai Gurudeva Paramahamsa Vishwananda.
Om Sri Vishwananda. Hari Om Sri Vishwananda.
Om Sri Vishwananda. Om Hari Om Sri Vishwananda.
Om Narayana. Om Hari Om Narayana.
Om Narayana. Om Hari Om Narayana.
Jai Gurudeva Paramahamsa Vishwananda. Oh, Jai Gurudeva Paramahamsa Vishwananda. Om Tarshishaya Namaha.
Om Vishamaya Namaha. Om Devakarya Samudyataya Namaha. Om Sukshmatanave Namaha. Om Chinmayaya Namaha. Om Gurumurtaye Namaha. Om Sundaraya Namaha. Om Sulochanaya Namaha. Om Sumukaya Namaha. Om Charuhasaya Namaha. Om Keshavaya Namaha. Om Padmabhujaya Namaha. Om Mandagamanaya Namaha. Om Charumbaradharine Namaha. Om Ramaya Namaha. Om Mandirastapakaya Namaha. Om Shirdi Babarchakaya Namaha. Om Gayatri Ajvane Namaha. Om Arpana Svikarakaya Namaha. Om Vishnu Pujakaya Namaha. Om Namo Narayana Iti Mantrapasakaya Namaha. Om Swaramayaya Namaha. Om Madhurakantaya Namaha. Om Krishna Sankirtana Lopaya Namaha. Om Stotra Priyaya Namaha. Om Mitabashine Namaha. Om Vagmine Namaha. Om Chitrakala Visharadaya Namaha. Om Vratadharaya Namaha. Om Sadave Namaha. Om Jagatpantaya Namaha. Om Sarvalokaitaya Namaha. Om Bhakta Priyaya Namaha. Om Surdaya Namaha. Om Anukulaya Namaha. Om Neyaya Namaha. Om Sudarshanaya Namaha. Om Bhaktavatsalaaya Namaha. Om Premamurtaye Namaha. Om Shrekshanaya Namaha. Om Pritivardhanaya Namaha. Om Swastidayakaya Namaha. Om Tarakaya Namaha. Om Anugrahaya Namaha. Om Vardhanaya Namaha. Om Architaya Namaha. Om Arthaya Namaha. Om Siddhipradaya Namaha. Om Janardhanaya Namaha. Om Manoharaya Namaha. Om Akshaya Namaha. Om Siddheshwaraya Namaha. Om Bhasma Bhushitaya Namaha, Om Atma Lingaya Namaha, Om Lingachana Prostakaya Namaha, Om Siddhi Sadanaya Namaha, Om Madhavaya Namaha, Om Karupasakaya Namaha, Om Sukshmaya Namaha, Om Vishokaya Namaha, Om Satvikaya Namaha, Om Samadarshine Namaha, Om Dakshaya Namaha, Om Achintyaya Namaha, Om Nirankaraya Namaha, Om Nirmohaya Namaha, Om Avyagraya Namaha, Om Chitakrodaya Namaha, Om Vinayashilaya Namaha, Om Svavashaya Namaha, Om Kushalaya Namaha, Om Shamaya Namaha, Om Satyadharmaya Namaha, Om Nirvikalpaya Namaha, Om Viraktaya Namaha, Om Atindraya Namaha, Om Satyasandaya Namaha, Om Pavitraya Namaha, Om Madhura Swabhavaya Namaha, Om Suranandaya Namaha, Om Nandanaya Namaha, Om Prasanatmane Namaha, Om Bhaktanidaye Namaha, Om Sakshaye Namaha, Om Samatmaye Namaha, Om Sadayogine Namaha, Om Haraye Namaha, Om Sutapaya Namaha, Om Samyaya Namaha, Om Guyaya Namaha, Om Vimuktatmaya Namaha, Om Gabiraya Namaha, Om Guptaya Namaha, Om Atmaramaya Namaha, Om Srinivasaya Namaha, Om Devaya Namaha, Om Yutidaraya Namaha, Om Dhanyaya Namaha, Om Gurave Namaha, Om Duratikramaya Namaha, Om Gahanaya Namaha, Om Bhagavate Namaha, Om Harishana Margadarshakaya Namaha, Om Kutasha Jagartakaya Namaha, Om Abhiprayaya Namaha, Om Sarvamata Samatyaya Namaha, Om Shamaikata Bhava Vardakaya Namaha, Om Premavatara Sri Vishwananda Swami Namaha. Ato Deva Avantano Yato Vishnur Vichakrame Pradivya Sapta Damapi Idam Vishnur Vichakrame Tredani Lade Padam Samodamasya Pagunsule Trini Pada Vichakrame Vishnur Gopa Ada Adyan Tato Dharmani Dharyene Vishnu Karmani Pashyate Ato Virtani Pashpashe Indrasya Yujasaka Tat Vishnu Paramam Padagum Sada Pashyanti Surya Dive Vachakshuratatam Tat Vipraso Vipanyavo Jagrivagum Sasamindate Vishnuya Paramam Padam. Premavataraaya Vidmaye Satguru Devaya Dhimai Tano Vishwananda Prachodayate. Om Premavataraaya Vidmaye Satguru Devaya Dhimai Tano Vishwananda Prachodayate. Om Premavataraaya Vidmaye Satguru Devaya Dhimai Tano Vishwananda Prachodayate. Govinda Om Vakratunda Mahakaya Suryakoti Samaprabha Nirvignam Kurume Deva Sarvakaryeshu Sarvada Sarvakaryeshu Sarvada. Om Bhurbhuva Swaha Tatsavitur Varenyam Bhargo Devasya Dhimai Yo Yona Prachodayat. Om Bhurbhuva Swaha Tatsavitur Varenyam Bhargo Devasya Dhimai Yo Yona Prachodayat. Om
सवितुर्वरेण्यं भर्गो देवस्य धीमहि यो यो न प्रचोदयात्।
Krishna Vishnu Madhusudana Ketavare Narayana Achyuta Trivikrama Chakrapane Deityadi Sarjadara Shidara Vasudeva Gopala Krishna Haraye Tava Suprabhatam Shri Rukminisha Bhavanasha Hare Murare Radesha Gopisha Surupra Brahmadi Vandya Shri Dvarakasya Vaikuntha Pate Bhuvaneka Murte Gopala Deva Haraye Tava Suprabhatam Ninakrute Kamatarupa Varaha Murte Previkramaya Guhane Bru Rama Rama Shri Rama Krishna Yadunandana Kalti Rupam Gopala Krishna Haraye Tava Suprabhatam Govinda Madhava Mukunda Parat Paresha Damodaraja Dharananda Kadari Shori Go Gopa Gopi Jana Samrita Dina Bando Gopi Jana Priyaraye Tava Suprabhatam Shirati Shai Tujagadi Patal Prashai Sadbhakta Rutsalana Shai Ramanga Shai Shri Gopavama Mrudukalpa Sukadishai Go Gopavallabharaye Tava Suprabhatam Shri Kashyapati Sukanarada Gotamadi Brahmarshi Sangamani Sangavavaratesho Tishtanti Deva Tava Darshana Bhagya Heto Gopala Sekhararaye Tava Suprabhatam Mandara Jali Tulasi Dalamalikaja He Malyani Anjali Pute Samudaharanti Tishtanti Vatpavatadara Tale Munindraha Radha Manohararaye Tava Suprabhatam Vedatrayam Patati Gautamakana Guyaha Gayanti Satgunagano Varada Savargaha Sankirtayanti Tava Nama Kada Visheshaha Shri Naradadi Rishaya Tava Suprabhatam Govardhanodharana Gopati Shora Gopa Gopi Janamrita Subesha Bhavadi Pota Trilokya Mohana Sumangala Divya Deha Shri Rukminisha Varada Tava Suprabhatam Shri Vatsya China Sharanagata Parijata Bhaktarti Vanchana Kripakara Dina Bando Dityanta Gayati Jana Priya Divya Rupa Shri Nanda Gopatanaya Tava Suprabhatam Padmaksha Padma Mukha Padmadara Pradeya Padmalayasya Rita Padma Nivasa Shori Padmodbhavati Surasevita Pada Padma Padmadinata Haraye Tava Suprabhatam Vrindatale Viharanaya Mahendra Vanya Kandarpadarpa Haratinya Sudesha Rupa Chandrananaya Siddha Chandana Lipna Deha Govinda Yadavaraye Tava Suprabhatam Shri Nanda Nandana Yashoda Kumara Dira Mayangadina Dadishona Supushpahara Nilam Budashu Sharira Ramadihara Gopala Deva Haraye Tava Suprabhatam Shri Varshijan Bhavati Satya Suganti Bhadra Shri Mitra Vinda Divasa Prabhu Putrikaya He Tishtanti Divya Bhavame Tava Sevanardam Gopi Manapri Haraye Tava Suprabhatam Shri Krishna Achyutananta Mukunda Shori Radha Manohara Janardana Chakrapane Namani Diyamunayurna Nisham Vadanti Brahmi Muhurta Samaye Tava Suprabhatam Shri Krishna Suprabhatam Ye Patanti Harnisham Buri Kritan Mahapapan Shri Krishna Grahe Tukam
Ishvara Parama Krishna Sachitananda Vigraha Anadiradir Govinda Sarvakarana Karanam Govindamadi Purusham Tamam Bhajami
Govindamadi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami
Sintamani Prakara Samasukaupa Vriksha Lasha Vritesha Surabhira Vipalayantam Lashmi Sahasra Satasam Brahma Sevyamanam Govindamadi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami
Govindamadi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Venum Kvanantamaravindha Dalaya Kaksham Varavatam Samasitam Buddha Sundarangam Tandarbakoti Kamaniya Vishesha Shobha Govindamadi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Govindamadi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami
Aruna Chandra Kala Sadvanamanya Vamsi Ratnam Gadam Pranaya Keli Kala Vilasham Shyamam Tribanga Lalitam Niyata Prakasham Govindamadi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Govindamadi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami
Angani Yasya Sakalindriya Vittimanti Pashyanti Panti Kalayanti Shiram Jaganti Ananda Chinmaya Sadujvala Vigrahasya Govindamadi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Govindamadi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami
Advaitam Achyutam Anadim Anantarupam Adyam Purana Purusham Navayovanam Cha Vedeshu Durlamam Adurlamam Atma Bhato Govindamadi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Govindamadi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami
Pantastu Koti Shatavatsara Sampragamyo Vayo Ratapi Manaso Muni Pungavanam Sopyasti Yatra Parasimnyana Chinkyatadve Govindamadi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Govindamadi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Ekopya Sura Chayatum Jaganta Kotim Yashastirasti Jaganta Chayanta Andatarasta Paramana Chayam Tarastam Govindamadi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Govindamadi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Yalpava Bhavita Diyo Manujastateva Samprapya Rupa Manimasanayana Pushama Sukte Yameva Nigama Pratite Suvanti Govindamadi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Govindamadi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami
Ananda Chinmaya Rasa Pratibhavitabhis Kavirya Eva Nijarupataya Kalabi Goloka Eva Nivasata Kilatma Bhuto Govindamadi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami
Govindamadi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Premanjana Churita Bhakti Vilochanena Santasadeva Hirareshu Vilokayanti
Yashama Sundaram Achintya Guna Swarupam Govindamadi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Govindamadi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Ramardi Murdi Sukalani Amena Tishtam Nana Vataram Akarod Bhuvaneshu Kintum Krishna Swayam Samabhavat Paramam Pumayam Govindamadi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Govindamadi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Yasya Prabha Prabhavato Jaganta Koti Koti Svashesha Vasudadi Vibhuti Benam Tatra Manishkalam Anantam Ashesha Bhutam Govindamadi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Govindamadi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Maya Yasya Jaganta Satani Sute Trigunya Tat Vishaya Veda Vitaya Mana Sattva Valambi Parasattva Vishuddha Sattvam Govindamadi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Govindamadi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Ananda Chinmaya Rasatmataya Manasho Ya Praninam Pratipalam Smaratam Upetya Lila Itena Bhuvanani Jayata Jashram Govindamadi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Govindamadi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Golokanam Jinji Jadam Nitale Shatasya Devi Maesha Haridam Asuteshu Teshu Tete Prabhava Nichaya Vihita Shayena Govindamadi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Govindamadi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Shishti Shiti Pralaya Sadhana Shaktireka Chaye Vayasya Bhuvanani Vibhati Durga Inchana Rupamapi Yasya Chacheshate Sa Govindamadi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Govindamadi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Shiram Yatada Divikara Vishesha Yoga Sanjayate Naitata Pratihasteto Yasambhutam Apitata Samupeti Karya Govindamadi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Govindamadi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Dipachireva Idashantaramabhyupetya Dipayate Vivitahetu Samana Dharma Yastadeva Isha Vishnutaya Vibhati Govindamadi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Govindamadi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Yakaranavana Jalim Bhaktisma Yoga Nidram Ananta Jaganta Saroma Kupa Adhara Shakti Mavalambya Param Samurti Govindamadi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Govindamadi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Yasheka Nishvasita Kalamata Valambya Jivanti Loma Bilaja Jagarantanata Vishnur Mahansaya Yasya Kala Vishesho Govindamadi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Govindamadi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Bhajvam Yatashma Sakaleshu Niseshu Tesha Sveyam Kiya Prakataya Pyatitatra Brahma Yesha Jaganta Vidana Karta Govindamadi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Govindamadi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Yatpada Pallava Yugam Vinidaya Kumbha Vanve Pranama Samaye Saganadi Raja Vignam Vihantu Malayasya Jagatrayasya Govindamadi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Govindamadi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Anirmainganganambu Marudi Sacha Kalasta Tattva Manasitti Jagatrayani Yashmat Bhavanti Vibhavanti Vishanti Amcha Govindamadi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Govindamadi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Yashashureshu Savita Sakala Grahanam Rajasamasa Suramurti Rasesha Teshaha Yasyagnaya Brahmati Sambrita Kala Chakro Govindamadi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Govindamadi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Dharmo Tapapani Chaya Srutaya Sapamshi Brahmadikita Pataga Vadaya Shajivaha Yadata Matra Vibhava Prakata Prabhava Govindamadi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Govindamadi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Yasindra Gopa Matavendra Maosma Karma Bandhana Rupa Palabhajana Matanoti Karmani Nirdahiti Kintu Shabhakti Bhajam Govindamadi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Govindamadi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Yam Krodha Kama Sahaja Pranayadi Diti Vatsalya Moha Guru Gaurava Sevya Bhavahi Sanchikta Tasya Sadishinta Nurapurete Govindamadi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Govindamadi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Ishvara Parama Krishna Sachitananda Vigraha Anadiradir Govinda Sarva Karana Karana Govindamadi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Govindamadi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami.
Agyanatimirandhasya jnananjana shalakaya chakshurunmilitam yena tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha. Jai Gurudev, good morning. Today we're discussing a verse from Canto 10, Chapter 88, verse number 8. Sri Bhagavan Uvacha Yasyaham anughranami harishe tadhanam shanahi tato dhanam tyajantyasya swajana dukha dukhitam. Shri Krishna said, if I especially favor someone, I gradually deprive him of his wealth. Then the relatives and friends of such a poverty-stricken person abandon him. In this way, he suffers one distress after another. It sounds great, no? So I guess if we really hear this verse where Krishna is saying, if I especially favor someone, so if I want to show my special mercy to someone, then I take away everything from him. So I think if we can hear this verse and say, yes, this is exactly what I want, then I think we're on a really good path. So Krishna, now Guruji tells the story of Krishna and Uddhava, which is very, very much related to this verse, which is actually the practical example of this verse. So Krishna and Uddhava visit a rich man. I've told this story before, but it's just really, really nice. So they visit a rich man, and you know, in the Hindu tradition, when a guest comes to your house, especially an uninvited guest, you're supposed to treat him like God. Well, if you can't treat him like God, then at least offer a glass of water. So the rich man was treating them actually very disrespectfully, very poorly, even though he had so much wealth and so much possibilities of serving his guests, he would disrespect them quite a bit. And Uddhava was a little bit irritated, you know, seeing his lord being treated so disrespectfully. But then, once they left the house of the rich man, Krishna blessed him and said, your wealth shall increase, you know, double. And Uddhava was really, really surprised at this. But okay, he's the Lord. He has his own will. He has his own way of doing things. So, okay. Then on their journey, they visit the very poor hut of a sadhu. And that sadhu has a cow, and, you know, from the milk of the cow, he offers them something nice to drink. And he treats Krishna and Uddhava with utmost respect, such devotion, such love, such simplicity of heart, such humility. And then once they leave the sadhu's hut, Krishna blesses him and says, "Your cow shall die." And Uddhava is really amazed because he had witnessed Krishna's reaction to being disrespected by the rich man. And the rich man was blessed by Krishna with even more wealth, and now he's being treated really nicely by a simple sadhu, and he quote-unquote blesses him that his cow shall die. But then Krishna reveals the deeper truth behind his seemingly, contradicting actions. So he said, well, that rich man, he's so much into this worldly life, he's so much into sansar, he's so much into this material consciousness, that if he wants to be happy in this material world, then let it be so. He shall take many, 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 many more lives. But that sadhu was such an elevated soul. He had me as his only aim, but there was one problem. He was still very much attached to his cow. So I removed this attachment from him. And it's exactly what this verse is saying. If I especially favor someone, like Krishna wanted to bless this humble sadhu, I gradually deprive him of his wealth. Sometimes gradually, sometimes not so gradually. And I was reflecting a lot recently about how we relate to the Sadguru in terms of giving and taking, let's say. Because often, so often we have expectations from others. Now we like people to act in a certain way that is in line with how we want to be treated, how we want to be acknowledged, etc. So it's just so natural, so deep in our human nature that we always expect things from others. And we set ourselves up for suffering in this way. But with the Sadguru, we do the same. We also want things from him. And if it's not material things, it's more subtle things or spiritual things, or even such a thing as attention or his time or whatever. But we always have this expectation that he should, or let's say this demand almost, that he should give us something. But if we look at this verse, what Krishna is saying here, or if we look at that story which illustrates this verse, where Krishna takes away everything from that sadhu as his highest blessing, it's the same with the Sadguru, because in reality, he's not giving anything. In reality, first, what he does is he removes everything. He takes away everything. He burns up everything. Because the Sadguru is like a huge flame. And when you approach that flame, then everything starts to burn. Obviously, this is metaphorically speaking. It burns up all the attachments, all the fantasy, all our ignorance inside of us. Now, in the Guru Gita, it is said that the syllable gu, so when we take the word guru, the syllable gu is our suffering, it's samsara, it's our ignorance, and ru is the one who removes that, who burns that up. And I'd like to mention a tweet which Guruji shared last summer, which is so beautiful, which really illustrates this concept of the Sadguru being this huge flame which burns up everything. And, often Guruji writes something by, in his tweets he writes something on his own, but in this case he was really quoting word for word a specific poem, which I would like to read. But first I'd like to give you context to give an understanding where this poem is actually from. So this poem is taken from a poetic work. It's called The Conference of the Birds. Just wondering, has anyone heard of that? What? I'm not sure if you're raising your hand, Jagatpati, or just stretching. No? Okay. It's good. Okay, so it's something new. So the Conference of the Birds, it's a very, very beautiful story which illustrates the spiritual journey, and it's composed by a great, great Sufi poet. His name was Farid-ud-Din Attar. It kind of sounds like a perfume we would be applying to the shaligrams. But he lived roughly 800 years ago or so. And his poetry inspired actually many, many later poets and the whole Sufi tradition. Right? And it sets out with a group of birds which come together to discuss who they should appoint as their king. Yeah. And then one of the birds, actually the wisest birds, says that in a faraway land there lives a magical bird, a mystical bird, and his name is the Simur. Yeah. And that is their real king. Yeah. And to appoint him a king, they have to journey to that faraway land until they find him. And then in this assembly of birds, a lot of birds give excuses why they cannot go on that journey. And it's so beautiful how each of these birds stands for a certain human characteristic that stops us on the spiritual path, like attachment to wealth, attachment to our name, our reputation, so many different characteristics. Yeah, and so each of the birds, or let's say most of the birds, give a certain excuse why they cannot go on that journey. So in the end, it's only 30 birds which embark on this journey, who are brave enough. And the wisest of the birds is leading them, and they have to cross 7 valleys, which in the Sufi thought represent different stages on our spiritual path, or let's say on the Sufi spiritual path. So the first valley is the valley of the quest. There's the valley of love, there's the valley of knowledge, there's the valley of detachment, valley of unity, valley of bewilderment, and then lastly, the valley of annihilation. Because in the Sufi tradition, the idea is very, or the focus is very much about annihilating the ego. And interestingly, this is something which Guruji also speaks about so much. You know how true devotion, true love for God awakens when we drop this ego personality, this ego identity. Because usually whatever we do, whatever thought we have, is completely stained by this self, by this ego. Right? This ego which makes us identify with our mind, with our body, with our senses. And it's exactly this ego, this sense of separate identity that prevents us from experiencing the fullness of God. Right? We always think we're separate from God. God is somewhere else. No. We don't see that He's inside of us, He's outside of us, He's everywhere, He's pervading everything. Right? So back to this story of the birds. Once they've crossed these 7 valleys, there is a certain, let's say, a guardian bird, which takes them to a final door. Right? And he says, beyond this door, you will find the Simur. But the moment they open this door, what they see is not some great bird with, let's say, blue and orange feathers and sitting on a majestic throne, but what they see is their very own reflection, the very own reflection of themselves. And there's a pun here, because in Persian, Simur is a mystical bird which is known in the tradition, but Simur literally means 30 birds. So these 30 birds just see a reflection of themselves. And the whole point is that they were always looking for something in a faraway land, just like we look for God in the outside world. But He is the very core of ourselves. Right? He's the self of ourself. And Guruji makes the point in Shandilya Bhakti Sutra that ultimately, once we drop this limited ego identity, there's only one reality we perceive, which is the reality of the Lord. It doesn't mean that we stop to exist, right? It's not that we enter a void, but we become completely devoid of ourself. And the only thing we perceive is Him. Just like if you have a pot which has been thrown into the ocean, the pot only perceives the ocean. Right? It's still there, but it's completely filled with the ocean, and everything around it only is the ocean. So this is a little insight into the conference of the birds. And just before they cross this final valley, there's a certain poem, because this whole story consists of many little stories, many little poems, and one of them, which Guruji quoted in its entirety in a tweet last summer, is the moths and the flame. So the language is very poetic. It's a bit difficult, but I'll explain a little bit. Moths gathered in a fluttering throng one night to learn the truth about the candlelight, and they decided one of them should go to gather news of the elusive glow. One flew till in the distance he discerned a palace window where a candle burned, and went no nearer. Back again he flew to tell the others what he thought he knew. The mentor of the moths dismissed his claim, remarking, "He knows nothing of the flame." A moth more eager than the one before set out and passed beyond the palace door. He hovered in the aura of the fire, a trembling blur of timorous desire, then headed back to say how far he'd been and how much he had undergone and seen. The mentor said, "You do not bear the signs of one who's fathomed how the candle shines." Another moth flew out. His dizzy flight turned to an ardent wooing of the light. he dipped and soared, and in his frenzied trance, both self and fire were mingled by his dance. The flame engulfed his winged tips, body, head. His being glowed a fierce, translucent red. And when the mentor saw that sudden blaze, the moth's form lost within the glowing rays, he said, he knows the truth we seek, that hidden truth of which we cannot speak. To go beyond all knowledge is to find that comprehension which eludes the mind, and you can never gain the longed-for goal until you first outsoar both flesh and soul. But should one part remain, a single hair will drag you back and plunge you in despair. No creature's self can be emitted here, where all identity must disappear. It's quite amazing. So in case the language was a bit difficult, it talks about a group of moths, and there's one fire, right? And they want to get to know that fire. And one moth comes, approaches the fire, but then he's scared and goes back. Then another moth ventures a little bit closer to the fire, but still goes back. And then the mentor says, these two, they don't really know the fire. But then that very brave moth burns itself completely by the fire, and he doesn't come back. Because as the poem has said, it says, his body mingled, right? Both self and fire were mingled by his dance. So that fire and his body and his self, they became one. And that fire is the Sadguru who burns everything, but only when we truly throw ourselves into that flame. When we approach that flame, we can feel some heat, right? Our skin might feel warm. If we get closer, even the hairs on our skin might even burn, but we still remain the same. But the poem here says, but should one part remain, a single hair will drag you back and plunge you in despair. No. Because when we talk about surrender, that surrender is a complete giving of oneself, such that not even a single part remains. But who can really do that? Who can really throw themselves into that flame of the Sadguru? It's very, very rare. It's very, very difficult because there's so much inside of us which is holding us back. But this is really the nature of the Guru, of the Sadguru. Not that he's giving you some gifts, that he's giving you his attention, he's giving you whatever it might be, an experience. It's nice. These things for sure happen on the way, but the final goal is to completely immerse yourself in the flame of his love, which burns everything, we know about ourselves, until our true self can shine forth and be fully immersed in his love. And this is the true blessing which the Guru gives, which Krishna gives, right? Not when he gives us anything, but as the verse says in Canto 10, I deprive him of his wealth. And that wealth is not the money we have on our bank account, but it's everything. It's our whole ego identity and everything which is based upon that. So I hope we become that moth that throws itself into that flame just to never return. Jai Gurudev.
Namaste Narasimhaya.
Namaste Narasimhaya.
Namaste Narasimhaya.
Yato yato yamitato narasimho.
Yato yato yamitato narasimho.
Oh yato yato yamitato narasimho.
Yato yato yamitato narasimho.
Bai narasimho hirdai narasimho. Bair Narasimho, Hirdaye Narasimho.
Bair Narasimho, Hirdaye Narasimho.
Narasimhadim Sharanam Prapadye.
Narasimhadim Sharanam Prapadye.
Narasimhadim Sharanam Prapadye.
Narasimhadim
Avakara Kamalavare Naka Adutta Shringam Dalita Hiranyakashipu Tanu Bringam Keshavadirta Narari Rupam Jaya Jagadishare, Jaya Jagadishare, Jaya Jagadishare.
Navakara Kamalavare, Nakamabhuta Shringam, Dalita Hiranyakashipu Tanu Bringam Keshavadita Narari Rupam Jai Jagadishare Jai Jagadishare Jai Jagadishare
Jai Jai Narasimha Dev, Narasimha Dev, Narasimha Dev, Jai Narasimha Dev,
Jai Narasimha Dev, Narasimha Dev, Narasimha Dev, Jai Narasimha Dev.
Jai Prahlad Maharaj, Prahlad Maharaj, Bhatta Swarupa Jai Prahlad Maharaj,
Jai Prahlad Maharaj, Prahlad Maharaj, Bhatta Swarupa Jai Prahlad. Gurudev, 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 Jaya Jaya Gurudev.
Sri Vishwananda, Gurudev, 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 Sri Vishwananda, Gurudev.
Sri Vishwananda, Gurudev, 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 Sri Vishwananda, Gurudev.
Gurudev, 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 Shri Vishwananda, Gurudev. Satgurudev Maharaj ki
Jai.
Ramanuja, Ramanuja,
Yatiraja Ramanuja Mangala Mangala Me Ramanuja Ramanuja Mangala Mangala Me Yatiraja Ramanuja Mangala Mangala Me
Yatindraya Karunakaraya Mangala Mangala Me
Yatindraya Karunakaraya Mangala Mangala Me
Prapati Dharme Karataya Mangala Mangala Me
Prabhati Dharme Karataya Mangala Mangala Me
Ramanuja Ramanuja Mangala Mangala Me Yatiraja Ramanuja Mangala Mangala Me
Ramanuja Ramanuja Mangala Mangala Me Yatiraja Ramanuja Mangala Mangala Me
Saligrama Pratishtitaya Mangala Mangala Me
Saligrama Pratishtitaya Mangala Mangala Me
Tridanda Dharini Godagrajaya Mangala Mangala Me
Tridanda Dharini Godagrajaya Mangala Mangala Me
O Ramanuja Ramanuja Mangala Mangala Me Yatiraja Ramanuja Mangala Mangala Me O
Ramanuja Ramanuja Mangala Mangala Me Yatiraja Ramanuja Mangala Mangala Me
Rangesa Kenkaryarataya Mangala Mangala Me
Rangesa Kenkaryarataya Mangala Mangala Me
Mananataya Tarini Dharaya Mangala Mangala Me
Mananataya Tarini Dharaya Mangala Mangala Me
O Ramanuja Ramanuja Mangala Mangala Me Yatiraja Ramanuja Mangala Mangala Me O
Ramanuja Ramanuja Mangala Mangala Me Yakiraja Ramanuja Mangala Mangala Me
Om Jaya Jagadish Hare
Swami Jaya Jagadish Hare Bhakta Janon ke Sankata Dasa Janon ke Sankata Jana me dura kare Om Jaya Jagadish Hare Jodhyave Palapade Dukha Vinase Manaka Swami Dukha Vinase Manaka Sukha Sampati Garave Sukha Sampati Garave Tashamite Tanaka Om Jaya Jagadish Hare Mata Pita Tumane Sharanagrahu Meki Saki Swami Sharanagrahu Meki Saki Tumadina Horana Duja Tumadina Horana Duja Ashakaru Meki Saki Om Jaya Jagadish Hare Tuma Purana Paramatma Tuma Antarayami Swami Tuma Antarayami Para Brahma Parameshwara Para Brahma Parameshwara Tuma Sabake Swami Om Jaya Jagadish Hare Tuma Karuna Ke Sara Tuma Padana
karata, Swami tuma palana karata. He sevaka tuma Swami, he sevaka tuma Swami, kripa karo bharata. Om Jaya Jagadisha Hare. Tuma ore ka gochar sabke pranapati, Swami sabke pranapati. Kisa vidhi milo dayamaya, kisa vidhi milo kripamaya, tumako bekumati. Om Jaya Jagadisha Hare. Dina bandhu luka harda, tumhara shaka mere, Swami tumhara shaka mere. Karuna hata badao, karuna hata badao, sharana pada kere. Om Jaya Jagadisha Hare. Vishaya vikara mitao, paparo deva, Swami paparo deva. Shraddha bhakti badao, Shraddha prema badao, Santana ki seva. Om Jaya Jagadisha Hare. Dana mana dana sabha hai tera, Swami sabha kuch hai tera, Swami sabha kuch hai tera. Tera tuja ko arpan, tera tuja ko arpan, jaya ge mera. Om Jaya Jagadisha Hare. Om Jaya Jagadisha Hare. Swami Jaya Jagadisha Hare. Bhakta janon ke sankata, das janon ke sankata, jana mein dura kare. Om Jaya Jagadisha Hare. Mane cha karna koji, giridhari lala cha karna koji, giridhari lala cha karna koji, giridhari lala cha karna koji. Mane cha karna koji, giridhari lala cha karna koji, giridhari lala cha karna koji, giridhari lala cha karna koji. Oh chakarna ko, chakarna ko, chakarna koji, chakarna ko, chakarna ko, chakarna koji. Mane chakarna koji, giridhari lala chakarna koji. Shama mane chakarna koji, giridhari lala chakarna koji. Govinda mane chakarna koji, giridhari lala chakarna koji, giridhari lala chakarna koji. Tvameva mata cha pita, tvameva, tvameva bandhuscha sakha, tvameva, tvameva vidya dravinam, tvameva, tvameva sarvam mama deva deva, tvameva sarvam mama deva deva. Govinda asato ma satgamaya, tamaso ma jyotirgamaya, mrityorma amritam gamaya. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Loka samasta sukhino bhavantu, Loka samasta sukhino bhavantu, Loka samasta sukhino bhavantu. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Hari Om.
Prem se bol Lakshmanarayana Bhagavan ki, Sri Bhutabhrteshwarnath Mandir Bhagavan ki, Prem se bol Radha Krishna Kriya Lal ki, Sri Mantar Kriya Babaji ki, Sri Ramanujacharya ki, Prem se bol Satgurudeva Sri Swami Vishwananda Mahaprabhu ki.
Krishnaya Govindaya Gopi Janavallabhaya Paraya Paramapurushaya Parakarma Mantra Yantra Tantra Oshadastra Shastrani Samara Samara Mrityor Mochaya Mochaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Mahasudarshanaya Ditye Jvala Pradaya Sarvadik Shobhana Pat Parasmaye Parabrahmane Paramjyotishe Swaha. Om Shanti 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 Shri Gurubhyo Namaha Hari Om.
Jai Jai Shri Radhe, Jai Jai Shri Radhe, Jai Jai Shri Radhe. Sham Venkatanamana Govinda, Gopika Jivana Smaran Govinda, Bhaktavatsala Govinda, Govinda Govinda Govinda. Kundalika Varade, Eknath Nande, Pandarinath Maharaj ki, Samasa Bhakta Mandali ki, Alvar Emperumanar Tirvari Galaye, Sharana.